March Madness is finally here, and today I'm going to see who would win if it was played in football. Since college football has over 350 Division I schools, and college football revamped only has about a third of those teams, I'm going to sim one season in NCAA football to see who makes the tournament. The top 68 teams at the end of the year will all get a bid, and yes, all conference championship winners will automatically make it, so I'll show you all each region and all of the seeding once this sim is over. Alright, now we have the top 68 teams in the nation, and if you're curious, you can also see all of the results of the conference championships. Now I'm going to go seed every team that'll make March Madness based on these rankings, and you might need to pause the video for a second because I'm just going to be quickly showing all 4 regions on the left side of the screen. Here are some of the teams that were on the bubble but didn't make the tournament, and now it's time to play out March Madness in NCAA football. These 8 teams will be playing in the first 4, and all of the games will be taking place in Nippert Stadium, which is the closest stadium to Dayton where the first 4 normally takes place. In the 11 seed matchup, UNLV did not stand a chance against the Beavers, so Oregon State moves on to the round of 64. Our next matchup is also close as it's only a 1-point game with a minute and a half left, and both of these teams are 12 seeds, so we'll see if they can pull off an upset in the next round. But first, one of them has to get there while the other is fully eliminated. Appalachian State looks like they're in the position they need to be in to win the game, and that is a dot. They just made sure they didn't have to kick a field goal, so most likely they're going to escape the first 4, and that confirms it. Their next matchup will be against UAB, and this next first 4 games stunned me. Clemson must have had a terrible season on the sim if they're barely sneaking in as a 16 seed, but they did enough to knock out Western Kentucky, beating them by 11, and that's going to give us one of the craziest round of 64 matchups ever. In the last first 4 game, we have to watch 2 16 seeds, and all Iowa State needs to do is get one more stop on Ohio, which they do. The Cyclones are going to get Ohio State, but we're going to start in the East region where Georgia's the overall number 1 seed, and all of those games will be at MetLife Stadium. I honestly can't believe this one is this close with a minute and a half left, but Temple, a 16 seed, actually has a chance. This is incredible. They're moving the ball, and now with 45 seconds left, they are on Georgia's side of the field. They're trying to pull off a UMBC, but the only issue is they don't have any timeouts remaining. They're slinging it to the end zone though, and that was almost it. Georgia could have literally crushed all of their upset hopes with one play. They need to start getting the ball out a little bit faster. That's going to be in bounds, which means this 4th and 7 is for the game. Come on, Temple, do something here. He's going to be marked short. That's unfortunate, but Georgia escapes with the win. And in the next one, Wisconsin's not going to put up much of a fight. I'd love if all of the games were close, but obviously that isn't going to be the case. And 5-seeded UAB did a fantastic job against Appalachian State. I think our next one should be a good one though, and I was correct because with 2 minutes left, 13-seeded Virginia has a lead, and if they can hold on to it, they're going to pull off an upset. It's 3rd and 13 now for Michigan State, and this is pretty much their last chance to win the game. They're going to be stuck on a short 4th down, and since they burned one of their timeouts, it all comes down to this. Jalen Berger gets the edge, and instead of trying to win it, Virginia decided they just wanted to go to overtime. After the Spartans found the end zone, the Cavaliers are going to have to respond back, and since they weren't able to pull off the miracle here on 4th and 23, 4-seeded Michigan State moves on to the next round. Here are the other 4 games in the East region, and after an incredible defensive performance, 6-seeded Cincinnati's going to hold Army to 0 points. Then in the next game, the Tar Heels played pretty well against the 14-seeded Hokies, but with a minute remaining, Virginia Tech was fighting their hardest to get back in it, and they have to try to get the ball back with this onside kick, which the Tar Heels are going to mishandle, and I can't believe it, but North Carolina is choking. They need a defensive stop, and fortunately for them, here on 4th and 6, they're going to get a sack, so they'll be moving on to the following round. This region has yet to have an upset, but if you consider a 10 seed beating a 7 seed one, then this would technically be the first of the tournament. For the East region, in the round of 64, this was the final matchup, and 15-seeded Maryland had 2 minutes to score on the Sooners. They'd done a fantastic job to be in this game with such little time left, and they seem to be moving the ball down the field pretty well with plays like this. But with about 30 seconds left, the backup quarterback lost the ball, and that was going to be it for the Terrapins. They almost pulled off the upset, but because Tua's brother got hurt, they couldn't do it, and this is what the East region was looking like going into the next round. Next up, we have the South one, and Alabama versus 16-seeded Clemson is the opening game. I still cannot believe that the Tigers were about to miss the tournament in the season sim, but since they snuck in as a 16 seed, they are a dangerous threat. There's no way any 16 seed's better than them, and with 27 seconds remaining, they're on the verge of upsetting 1-seeded Alabama. All DJ Ugalele needs to do is find the open receiver for about 20 yards, but he's gonna get sacked, and Clemson's upset hopes look like they're gonna fall short, but the corner route is wide open, and that throw is gonna give them the chance on the last play of the game to go for the win. The throw is up, and it's a dot! DJ Ugalele actually delivered in the clutch, and I cannot believe that's the first result of this region. For a team that finished 66th in the sim, they're not playing like it, and it looks like we're going to get some more drama as Florida Atlantic has gotten the ball back with 18 seconds remaining, and they need a field goal to win this game, so time is very precious. I don't know why they took so long there, but the odds are it's not going to matter anyway, and he is slinging it, but it's going to be picked off, which means 9-seeded Florida gets the win. 5-seeded Ole Miss should get the win here, but they've played so bad that they are on the verge of getting upset by a 12 seed, and that interception might just seal the deal. The defender somehow breaks free down to the 30, and with Jackson Dart turning the ball over there, all Tulsa needs is a first down. These first few games in the South region have been insane so far, and he's almost to a first, so Ole Miss has to lock up here, and they are not going to be able to do so. What a play! And 12-seeded Tulsa, welcome to the round of 32. Unfortunately, Spencer Rattler made sure the next game was incredibly difficult to watch, as his team became the first higher seed in this region to lose, and I'm honestly just ready to get into the bottom half of the bracket. In this matchup, Tennessee made sure that they railed 11-seeded Auburn, as they beat them by 28, but the next one should be an amazing one, so I wasn't surprised that with a minute left, this one was setting up to be great. The Hurricanes have a chance to go down the field and beat their rivals, but they need to move the ball fast, and here on 4th and 5, Tyler Van Dyke gets it out, and it is a dot. What a clutch throw for the quarterback, keeping his team in the game. Now he's taking his checkdowns, and unfortunately, that is going to make the clock run. However, on 3rd and 8, they have a chance to get a big gain, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Getting down to the 30-yard line and putting themselves in a position to pull off the crazy comeback. The wide receiver breaks the tackle, and Miami is going to take a 1-point lead. They were on the verge of being upset by 14-seeded Florida State, but now they have all the control, and unless Jordan Travis can pull off a miracle, this one is going to pretty much be over. There's almost no feasible way to get in field goal range with this little time left, so they have to go for a touchdown, and it will all come down to this final play. Jordan Travis gets the throw off, but it's not going far, and 3-seeded Miami survives in a rivalry nail-biter. In the next game, 7-seeded UCF is trailing to 10-seed North Texas with little time left, but they have the ball, and all they need is a field goal to send this one into overtime, which is pretty feasible. However, though, they are stuck on a 4th and 9 that they need to pick up, and they're not going to get it, so North Texas is going to win, and I have to say, with the way seeding is, some of these first-round matchups would never happen in real life, and that's going to cause a lot of chaos. I think I decided the seeds in the most fair way, but in the end, there's still going to be teams like Wake Forest that should not be a 15 seed because they're on the verge of upsetting 2-seeded Oklahoma State, and here on 4th and 12, they are going to get the stop, making the South region make zero sense at all. Now we have to head over to the West, which probably won't be as crazy, and all of this region's games will be played at Mile High Stadium. Believe it or not, Louisiana is winning with less than 2 minutes left, and the craziest part about this is they only made the tournament because they won their conference championship. They were ranked as like the 87th team in the country, and now they're coming out and upsetting 1-seeded UCLA, but if the 16 seed wants to make it official, they're going to have to hold on to their lead with a minute and a half remaining, and I have a hard time believing they're going to be able to stop them. DTR is finding all of his receivers, and I just have a hard time believing UCLA gets put out. However, this is March Madness, and that is what makes this month so crazy. UCLA is barely going to get the first, and if that defender had a better angle for the tackle, this game would be over. 20 seconds remaining now. UCLA has a guy in motion. They're just burning through the clock. They still need to get 30 yards to get into the end zone to send the game to overtime. DTR finds his receiver, and what a throw that was. They even got out of bounds to stop the clock, and I think this sack is going to seal it. Never mind, UCLA is somehow going to get the spike off, and that means it's all going to come down to this one final play. and the throw is never going to get out, which means we've now had two 16 seeds advance to the round of 32. If the real tournament ends up being this crazy, I won't know what to do, but I think we all know that probably won't happen. 8-seeded Oregon is going to win in a blowout fashion, but don't worry, there are still plenty of good games as an upset could happen in this one. Air Force is the 12 seed and they're playing 5-seeded Baylor, which means if they can somehow convert this 4th and 6, stay in the game and go down the field, they would have pulled off an upset, but instead that is the opposite of what's going to happen, as Baylor is going to move on to the next round. With about a minute remaining in the next one, Nebraska's trying their hardest to upset Texas A&M, but as a 13 seed that needs to go 74 yards down the field to make it go to overtime, the odds are certainly not in their favor. On 4th and 2, their running back's just going to run to the side, and that'll seal it, as it didn't even look like he was attempting to get the first. In the next one, 6-seeded SMU is going to fall to the Beavers, and this is just one of those situations where the higher seed is the better team. That could end up being the case here as well, as 14-seeded Mississippi State blew out the Huskies. Neither of these upsets were even close, so I'm just hoping that this next one is good. With about 40 seconds left, San Jose State is trailing by 3, but they are looking to get in field goal range, which they do, and now I am sure they're going to go for the win, as they still have an opportunity to get into the end zone with time ticking down. And it's all going to come down to the final plays where Fresno State gives up a touchdown, and the lower seeded Bulldogs are going to have one chance to stay in it, but they're doing nothing with it. That was the exact type of game we were looking for, and now we're going to get a Cotton Bowl rematch where USC is going to try to redeem themselves. With 2 minutes remaining, it looks like the Green Wave are at least about to go up by 3, and the entire game is going to be into the hands of Caleb Williams, and he's going to be taking off. He's getting down all the way to the 35. And I think the Trojans are going to get their revenge, as they are on the verge of scoring, but Caleb Williams turns it over. And I cannot believe that the West region looks like this right now. Now we're on to the last region that has to play in the round of 64, the Midwest. And all of these games will be taking place at Soldier Field. I don't think it's any surprise that Ohio State came out and dominated. And the next one was just as boring, as UTSA lost by a ton. They definitely didn't play like the higher seed. And so far, these games have stunk. The Midwest has yet to produce any upsets, but we might finally get one, as with 1 minute remaining in this game, 4-seeded Kansas was losing, and all Toledo has to do as a 13 seed is hold on to their lead, but I don't know if they're going to be able to. Jalen Daniels seems like he's going to be able to lead his team down the field for maybe even the game-winning drive, and at this point the Jayhawks are at least in field goal range, so it'll at least go into overtime. However, since they only have to go 30 yards in 30 seconds, I think they're going to go for more, and there's the turnover. Never mind. 13-seeded Toledo actually pulls off the upset, and this is exactly what this region needed. Now the upsets are starting to come in, as 11-seeded Texas knocks out Missouri, and I'm hoping my 14-seeded Wildcats can continue the streak. Unfortunately, they didn't play their best game though, as they're gonna lose, and you hate to see it, but they were never gonna be one of the favorites. Even though TCU was a 10 seed, I found this result pretty surprising, as they were better than the Razorbacks this season, and hang on. Technically speaking for sure, they are not out of this football game yet, so we cannot move on to the next until we find out if they pull off this comeback. With 25 seconds left, there is an open receiver for the touchdown, but he runs out of the end zone, and I don't understand that at all. He just wasted at least 15 seconds, but at least the Horned Frog scored, and it'll all come down to this onside kick where they're going to recover it. I'm so glad that I stayed in this game, because TCU could actually pull off the comeback, and they need to spike it. Hurry up! What are you doing? Max Duggan literally just choked, and after 2-seeded Utah took down the Cardinals in the final round of 64 game, this is what the Midwest looks like for now, and it's time to get into the round of 32. But before we do that, I have to tell you about Prize Picks, today's video sponsor. With the madness starting soon, this is the best time to get the app, and since you can play in over 30 states, there's a good chance yours is eligible. Anyways, you're probably wondering what Prize Picks is, and you just simply predict higher or lower on certain player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 25 times the money. It'll make the college basketball tournament way more entertaining, so if you want some free cash to start out with, code BOARD or the first link in my description will double your initial deposit up to $100. They have every sport you can think of, so you might as well take advantage of that. And now, let's get back to the tourney, where Georgia and Kansas State are playing first. Surprisingly, the 1-seeded Bulldogs are going to be knocked out in a game that was never even much of a contest, and that puts the Wildcats into the Sweet 16. Also, you've probably noticed that the background behind me has changed. And that's because I have finally moved into my new place in Tampa where I just watched the Spartans rail UAB. And in the next one, 6-seeded Cincinnati is on the verge of being put out unless they can score a touchdown here on this drive. They weren't expected to win this game as they're playing a 3-seed, and that turnover is going to seal it, moving North Carolina on to the Sweet 16. And in the final game of the East region, we had a huge upset as Purdue won by a ton. And since they're a 10 seed playing a 2, this was not expected. The highest 2 seeds in this section got put out in this round, and now we're going to get to see how the South plays out, with 16 seeded Clemson playing in the first one. With 2 minutes left, Florida was trailing by 7, and they're not going to pick up this first down. So if they want any chance of winning this game, they're going to need one more stop, and I don't think they're going to get it. Will Shipley has been running hard on them all day, and in the end, we're going to have a 16 seed in the Sweet 16. Michigan didn't end up having any issues against 12-seeded Tulsa, moving them on to play Clemson next. And when Tennessee and Miami played against each other, it's all going to come down to the final possession as Tennessee is trailing by 2 with the ball. Hendon Hooker is slinging it deep, and it's almost picked off. All they need is a field goal to win this game, and they might be able to get it, but with no timeouts, they're still going to need about another 15 yards, and they can't take a sack, but they do. And for some reason, Hendon Hooker is just winding down the clock all the way to 2 seconds. So they're going to have to throw it up for a Hail Mary if they want to win this game. The ball is in the air, and it is going to be intercepted. That is it. Now the winner of this one will play Miami in the Sweet 16, and 10-seeded North Texas technically is the favorite, but now that they're stuck on a 4th and 17, I think they're going to be in a little bit of trouble. 15-seeded Wake Forest should be going on to the next round, and all they need to do to confirm that is run out the clock for a little longer. They are passing though on 3rd down, which could give North Texas a chance to get the ball back. He has so much time in the pocket, and he's going to find his receiver, sealing the game, which is going to make the South region look like this for now. Over on the other side of the bracket, in the West, 16-seeded Louisiana got embarrassed by Oregon. I have no clue how this team managed to beat 1-seeded UCLA in the last round, but it made the Ducks' path to the Sweet 16 cake, and as time winds down in this one, they could be playing against either of these teams in the following round. Currently, Baylor's in a pretty good position to hold on and get the win, but they're going to turn it over with an interception, throwing it to Texas A&M, and he is going to break free. He might go all the way. Oh my gosh. What a turnaround for the Aggies. They should be able to hold on and get a field goal to win it now. Literally just seconds ago, they were looking like they were going to lose. Now they're in the driving seat, and at this rate, Haynes King might be going for a touchdown. He's moved him about 30 yards in 10 seconds. That's a great throw, but for some reason, they're going to leave time on the clock most likely. However, instead, they wound it down to about 5 seconds. They need to snap the ball. What are they doing? They're not going to kick a field goal. They're going with the run instead. It's going to be marked short, and this is going to overtime. Texas A&M definitely deserves to lose this game, and I cannot believe they got themselves in this position. Baylor's going to win with this run, and the 5 seed will be playing the Ducks in the next round. On the other side of the region, Mississippi State is trying their hardest to take down Oregon State, and all they need is a field goal, just like Texas A&M in the last one. But once again, they've let the clock wind down to 5 seconds. 4, 3. They're not going to take a timeout. They're going to run the ball, and their running back's going to go. He's going to get down to the 1-yard line. He was marked just short, and I honestly can't believe he didn't make it into the end zone there. These past few matchups have been wild, and right now 15-seeded Tulane has a lead, but with that amazing deep throw, it could be on the line. San Jose State could get a touchdown and win the game outright, and they've literally flipped field positions in just a matter of seconds. That's going to be an interception though. 15-seeded Tulane wins, and this is what the West region looks like going into the Sweet 16. The round of 32 is going to come to an end in the Midwest, and Ohio State is the only 1 seed remaining. With about a minute left, though, they only have a 7-point lead on Minnesota, so they could give up a touchdown here, and that would send this one into overtime. We will see what ends up happening, and so far, the Gophers have been flying down the field. They're not going to get this first down, though, so it all comes down to this 4th and 2. Will their quarterback make the right read? It's a dot. And the overtime hopes are still alive. 20 seconds left on the clock now. Ohio State needs to get a tackle short, and by bringing him down there, they just killed a ton of clock. I'm not sure if the Gophers are going to be able to go 20 yards in 9 seconds. That interception is going to seal the game. A 1 seed survives, and I doubt neither of these teams want to play them in the Sweet 16. I will say, though, I've been loving all of these close finishes. Toledo has not lost to Penn State yet. Even though they're 13 seed, they are slinging it deep, and that's going to be knocked down. I highly doubt the Rockets are going to be able to get down the field to win this game in this short period of time, but they're sending it, and that's a catch. Hold on, Toledo Toledo is not out of this one yet, and they are just 23 yards away from pulling off the upset. That's going to be a dot, and I think the Rockets are going to pull this one off. Sean Clifford only has 12 seconds left to try to make magic happen, which probably won't. And once again, if March Madness is as crazy as this tournament's been, we are in for a treat. He breaks the tackle, he gets down to the 47, and that's not enough for field goal range, but they do get a chance at a Hail Mary if Sean Clifford could ever get it off. And what a game we just got. I'd like to say that Notre Dame is going to knock off Texas in this one, but there's still enough time left for a comeback to happen. Quinn Ewers slinging it deep. It's going to be intercepted, and that will officially seal it. Now we have one final matchup to end the round of 32, and 2-seeded Utah is on the verge of being upset, so I don't know why they wasted so much clocks trying to snap the ball. Cam Rising slings it though, and he finds his receiver. All of a sudden, they just went from being out of field goal range to having a pretty good chance of sending it to overtime. They just can't go down in bounds. What are you doing? I don't know if they're going to get this snap off. And thank goodness the spike worked, but that was cutting it too close. However, after giving up a touchdown, it is now 4th and 14. The Razorbacks just need one more stop, and they're going to get it, which means they're going to pull off the upset and advance to the Sweet 16. Now that we've made it that far, I'd say anything could happen, and with a spot in the Elite 8 on the line, 4-seeded Michigan State came out playing amazing defense on Kansas State, and it's pretty much over, but it technically isn't yet, especially if the Wildcats score here, which they are going to do. They'll need to recover this onside kick, though, to stay in it, and they're not going to do so. The Spartans are going to win, and after blowing Purdue's back out in an embarrassing fashion, the East Region Final was sad. Before we can get into that though, we have to cover the other region's Sweet 16 games. And in the South, 16-seeded Clemson is going to win again. They beat 4-seeded Michigan by 21 points, and unless Miami can pull off the miraculous comeback, this region has gone insane. Wake Forest is the 15 seed. If they win, they're playing 16-seeded Clemson, and that would leave the two highest-seeded teams playing in the region final. It's now 3rd and 10. Tyler Van Dyke is just throwing it up. Since Tyler Van Dyke sailed 3 balls in a row, it's no surprise he missed that one as well. And our second Elite 8 matchup is now set. Over in the West, we also have a lot of high seeds remaining, and after doubling Baylor's score, it looks like the Ducks are going to be moving on. They'll be playing the winner of this one for a spot in the Final Four, and another 15 seed is going to be advancing as Tulane has played incredibly. That interception pretty much sums up this game, and I cannot wait to see who wins this matchup. But first, we have 2 more Sweet 16 games, and with a minute remaining, Toledo has the ball down by 3. They do need to go like 99 yards down the field if they want to score the game-winning touchdown. They are pretty far trapped back, so they're trying to sling out of it, and that is going to be picked off. That is going to ruin the 13 seed's chance of pulling off the upset on the Buckeyes. And Notre Dame and Arkansas are playing for the last spot in the Elite 8. In the end, the 3-seeded Irish are going to be moving on to play against Ohio State. And now it's time to figure out which 4 teams are going to make the Final Four. In the East, we got Michigan State versus North Carolina, and the Tar Heels ended up advancing to the Final Four. Over in the South, the winner of this game will play them, and DJ Ukulele finally came back down to earth. His team lost by a ton, and I feel like it's odd to say this, but 15-seeded Wake Forest is moving on. The entire South region was just wild. And next up, we have another 15-seed team playing, but they just didn't play very well as the Ducks more than doubled their score. Here's one final look at the West region, and now we have to head over to the Midwest to find out the Final Four team. I'm hoping that this one is at least close, and fortunately it is, as with 49 seconds left, the Irish have the ball trailing by 7, so they need a touchdown to send this one into overtime, and after taking that sack, it's going to be very hard to do so. It's 4th and 7. They're going to pick it up, thank goodness, because that's going to keep the minute for the time being. Now there's 12 seconds left on the clock. They need to get a first down, and if they don't, the clock is just going to wind completely out. They're slinging it. There's an open receiver. He goes, and he is tackled in the end zone. Ohio State has blown their lead. And now, here in overtime, it is 3rd and 15. CJ Stroud throws an interception. What is going on? All Notre Dame has to do is kick a field goal to win this football game. And they're going to eliminate the last 1 seed while moving on to the Final Four. That's going to wrap up our final region bracket, leaving us with just these 3 final games. With a spot in the national championship on the line, 3-seeded North Carolina is going to get onto the board first, and then they'd score another touchdown after that, putting Wake Forest in trouble. However, it looks like Sam Hartman's team's finally going to respond right back, and North Carolina is going with a more aggressive approach. Here on 4th and 5, Drake May finds his running back, which is most likely going to lead to another touchdown, and it does. Well, by the 3rd quarter, it looks like North Carolina is still maintaining their lead, but Wake Forest got it back within 3, and to end the 3rd quarter, Sam Hartman takes a sack, and he's just lucky his team got the ball back down by 3 with 3 minutes remaining remaining where they're going to score a touchdown. And now the pressure is all on North Carolina to score one of their own. I personally think that was a very generous spot as he looked short there, but North Carolina fans can't complain. They're moving the ball. Drake May, get the throw out. And it's a good thing that he did because now it is only 3rd and 4, which they are going to pick up. About a minute remaining now. They're still down by 4. They still need to get a touchdown, but they are getting past midfield, and they don't seem to be in any sort of rush, which they probably shouldn't since they have 3 timeouts. Drake May's honestly been doing pretty well. He's hitting his halfback screen there. That one's going to go for a loss of 2 yards. So they're going to have to hurry this snap up here. Drake May throws it, and that's intercepted. Wake Forest as a 15 seed is going to be going on to the championship, and I cannot believe what we just witnessed. Oregon and Notre Dame are facing off in the other Final Four matchup, and so far the Irish's offense has been on top of it as they've taken an early 10-point lead. At some point, Bo Nix and Oregon's offense has to come alive, but first, their defense needs to get him the ball back, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do so. Audric Estime has been carving up the Ducks defense, but now Drew Pine's going to do it, and it is so crucial that Bo Nix gets his team points here, but he's taking a sack, and that's going to knock his team out of field goal range. To make matters worse, Notre Dame's going to end the half going up 20-0, and it's a good thing that Oregon is seeming to turn it around in the 3rd quarter, because now that they have scored twice, it is only a 6-point game, and it's very far from being over. However, it seems like the Notre Dame offense is going to respond back, and going into the 4th, the Ducks are down by 13. It just seems like this one's not going to get any closer, and with a touchdown here, that would pretty much seal the game. On 3rd and goal, Notre Dame is going to wind down the clock, and they're going to punch it in. So unless Bo Nix can pull off a miracle in the next 2 minutes, Oregon is going to get eliminated, and Notre Dame will be going on to the national championship, which is exactly what is going to happen. It's all come down to this one game, and honestly, I wasn't expecting either of these teams to make it. It looks like Notre Dame's going to start their opening drive with the touchdown, but after getting marked short there, they're going to be going for it on 4th down, and their quarterback is going to get in. What a start for the Irish, and it looks like their defense is going to follow that up with getting a stop on Sam Hartman. He is throwing it deep, and that is going to be knocked down. Just like they did against Oregon, Notre Dame is going to be going up early, and I don't know if 15-seeded Wake Forest has it in them to pull this off, but Sam Hartman, who is transferring to Notre Dame in real life next year, has led back-to-back amazing drives, which are going to both result in touchdowns. Now, it looks like the Irish are going to end the first half with a score of their own as Drew Pine takes off, but this game is much closer than it was early on, and it'll really just depend if Wake Forest's defense can step up or not. It's 3rd and 11 here at midfield, way too much time in the pocket, and they're still going to get the throw off, which is going to be knocked down. After watching that, I honestly feel bad for Sam Hartman. He doesn't seem to have much of a defense around him, but he is trying his hardest to keep his team in it by getting them a lead on this drive. That is going to be a dot, and I'm going to assume all of you are rooting for the 15th seed in the Demon Deacons. Unless you're a Notre Dame fan, it only makes sense to root for the highest seed in March, and after that touchdown throw, Sam Hartman needs to lead his team on another money drive. He's breaking the sack, but it's just not going to happen here, and that makes it so important that his team gets a 3rd down stop, which they're gonna do, and once again he has the ball back in his hands with a chance to cook. And if you're a Wake Forest fan, having the ball in the hands of Sam Hartman's honestly the best place it could be. It looks like he's gonna lead his team down the field on this drive, but he throws an interception. Only 2 minutes remaining. Notre Dame, where are they going to take this to? What a game-changing turnover. I don't want to think that I jinxed him by saying you want the ball in his hands, but maybe I did, and now the Demon Deacons have to get a stop to get the ball back, which will all come down to this 3rd and 2. The quarterback fakes the read option. Drew Pine gets it done, and I think Notre Dame is going to win the national championship. The 3 seed wins March Madness in NCAA football, and let me know in the comments who you think's actually going to win March Madness.